Good evening, everybody. It is 6:30. It's Monday evening, and it is the Women's Football Rangers Football Show on the Rangers Rabble podcast, part of the Rabble Network, which is also part of the Talksport Fan Network. There you go. That's a bit of a mouthful. As you'll see, it's only me tonight due to family and work commitments. Everybody else who's normally on can't make it. So rather than not have a show and look like we're in the huff after yesterday's absolute shit show in Leith, I thought I would just come on and do my best at doing it on my own. So fire in the questions, guys. I'll do the best I can. As I always tell you, I find it difficult to read and talk at the same time, so I might miss things. If I do, I apologise. But I'm here for you guys. But before we get into yesterday's absolute shit show at Meadowbank, obviously last Monday we were contemplating going early because it was the draw for the second round of the Scottish Cup until Demi informed us that we're not actually in the draw for the second round of the Scottish Cup. We don't come into round 3. So we didn't do that. However, on Tuesday there was a draw that we were interested in. That was the draw for the quarter-finals of the Sky Sports Cup, which obviously we won 12-0 in last week. So the draw for the quarter-finals of the Sky Sports Cup, which was made last Tuesday on Sky Sports News, I believe, ties due on Sunday the 29th of November, obviously subject to change, subject to television, kick-off times, all that sort of nonsense. The big one's the first one. I would imagine that will definitely be on television. Although it's the Sky Sports Cup, I don't think Sky will cover any of them because they don't usually till the semi-finals. So I'd imagine the Second City Derby will be probably live on BBC Alba at 10 past 4. And then you've got Glasgow City against Aberdeen, that other lot against Queen's Park, and we've been drawn at home to Partick Thistle. I would expect that game to go ahead at Ibrox, as the Rangers men's first team are at Dundee that weekend. So there's no fixture clash. So I would think that, as I say, that game will be at Ibrox, and it probably will still be on the 9th of November, which is a bit of a pain for me because it means I can't get to, because the Dundee game today has been confirmed as a 3 o'clock kickoff for the men. So irrespective of the kickoff time of that game, I won't be able to make it. But it's not all about me, so let's be honest. So that's enough of that one. So we will now get on to the game yesterday down in Leith. I'm not allowed. I'm contractually not allowed to call it Edinburgh, because if my girlfriend sees this and I call it Edinburgh, she'll go absolutely nuts, because apparently Leith isn't in Edinburgh. Although it's still an Edinburgh derby when Hearts play Hibs. I don't quite understand that. But unfortunately, Sniper Brian's, well, unfortunately for me, but fortunately for him, Brian's out for dinner with his brother tonight. So given that they've had a few family issues recently, we can't really grudge him that. So he would come and save me. Hopefully I'm not doing too bad a job that I actually need saved. So yeah, as Brian saying, he's out with his brother. So, and he's just sent me a picture of what he's having for his tea. It actually looks fantastic. I've actually had to decant to my work because Vodafone went down earlier, and my internet's Vodafone. So I thought I'd better hightail it to work to make sure I could get on internet. Then came back about an hour ago, but there's no point in me going home. I was well just sitting here and doing it. Fortunately, my missus is away for the night, so it's not really too much of an issue me being here. But anyway, back to the game yesterday against Hibs at Meadowbank. I'll do my best Brian here. And the team lineup was for Rangers. It was Jenna Fife in goal. Then it was Nicola Docherty, Catherine Hill, Leah Eddy. A debut for Lee Mengwen, Maycroft, Jodie McCleary, Lizzie Arnott, Shinji Kim, Mia McCauley, and Katie Wilkinson. That was a starting lineup. It's probably quite a strong starting lineup. And singing the blues, I'm not growing hair. It's just the angle of the camera. I've always got this here, but where it sits in my house, you can't actually see it because I'm further away from the camera. I'm sitting a lot closer to the camera, as you can see, because you can see more of me, which isn't very good for you guys. I will have a haircut before I go to Bergen next week. I do tend to have a haircut usually when I'm going away for European games. So yeah. So anyway, back to the game. I'm just picking out a few comments. So yeah, fairly strong starting lineup, which we thought should be enough to to sort out Hibs, because Hibs are decent, although they're the champions, they haven't exactly the best start to the season. And I can't agree with Aldo's comment that we started off flying, then fell away. I agree with Leanne Crichton's comments after the game. I don't think we played particularly well, although we did race into a 2-0 lead. I mean, the first kind of 10 minutes wasn't really much of anything, to be perfectly honest. And sorry, I'm just trying to read some of these comments as we go. Right, okay, I'll come back to all of them, I think. So what I'll do is I'll go through the game, then I'll come back to the comments and try and pick out some of them. So 11 minutes in, debutant Lee Nguyen went down the right hand side, crossed the ball, a nice low cross, and Katie Wilkinson stooping header into the bottom corner past the keeper. It was a terrific header, actually, really good goal, I thought, and particularly for Katie to get that low and just get a nick on it, put it into the corner of the net. So that was, a good start. Then there wasn't really a lot happening in the next sort of 20 minutes until just after just over half an hour. Jodie McCleary's closing in on Siobhan Hunter just inside the Hibs box. Hunter tries to head it back to the goalkeeper. She made an absolute mess of it. Jodie was on her shoulder. She well, it looked like she caught Jodie in the face. Penalty kick, yellow card for Siobhan Hunter. There is a comment here from Paul. Why wasn't it a red card after the penalty rather than just a yellow on a penalty? She made no play for the ball, so the letter all means a red. We thought that at the time. I was at the game with Alan and Demi. Alan's first thought was double jeopardy, but as you rightly say, Paul, she made no attempt to play the ball because she just played it. She couldn't get anywhere near it again. Having watched it back, I think a yellow was probably just about right because it was at the side of the box, and I'm not sure Jodie was favourite to get the ball. However, we'll come on to Siobhan Hunter and the fact she didn't get a yellow card, a red card, because she should certainly have got a second yellow a couple of minutes later. But we'll come on to that. So, as I say, 32 minutes, penalty kick to Rangers, and Wilco steps up and sticks it into the net. Which is not really any more than you expect from us. 2-0, looking quite comfortable, and we're standing saying, well, if we can get this to half time at 2-0, that's very comfortable. Hibs have to come out second half because obviously they're at home, they're reigning champions, they don't want to lose points. We've really struggled against Hibs last season, particularly at Meadowbank, because it's a horrible place to play football, I would imagine, because it's a horrible place to watch football. Yeah, Paul, I know rules are rules, but I just don't think Jodie was favourite to get the ball. So you could probably argue it wasn't a goal scoring opportunity. But I mean, there's probably a lot of refs wouldn't have given the penalty, to be perfectly honest, because the ball was heading towards the keeper, albeit not particularly strongly. But as I say, we were thinking, getting at half time 2-0, Hibs have to come out and chase it, and we can catch them. We can just sit in and catch them on the break. And then after 40 minutes, there's a bit of a tussle in the middle of the park. Wilco gets penalised. I can't quite see. I haven't watched it back. I can't quite see what the free kick was for, but she got penalised. It was a bit of a kind of scramble for the ball after the referee gave the free kick. Well, her and aforementioned Siobhan Hunter, who got booked, conceding the penalty. Hunter then picked the ball up and stuck it into Wilco's face. There was absolutely no power in it. There was nothing to put her down in, like right in front of the referee. Now, to me, that's a red card. That's at least a second yellow card. Because you don't shove the ball into your opponent's face. As Tess says, why didn't she get a yellow card when she put the ball? I've got absolutely no idea. The referee's looking straight at it. I'm getting no idea why he didn't give. I would imagine it's one of those. What if she wasn't on a yellow, we'd have booked her. But as Paul said earlier, rules are rules. So I think Siobhan Hunter should probably be sent off then. That completely changes the game, because from the free kick, which Siobhan Hunter took, she played it short to her teammate. She stuck it out. They came down. They came down the right hand side. Ball went towards the box. For some reason, Kathy Hill was a bit short with the pass back. It could be down at the surface because it's not the best. It's not the best surface at Meadowbank. So Kathy shot with the pass back. Rosie Livingston's chasing through. There's a coming together. My first thought was that could be a penalty. The Hibs player gets back up again, takes a stab at the ball. It kind of ricochets back off Jenna. Again, I thought Jenna in goal could probably have held on to the ball. It breaks back off her, back to the Hibs player who has another stab at it. It then comes back off the post. If you haven't seen this, you have to watch it. It's just a comedy of errors. It comes back off the post, and Rosie Livingston, Hibs, is still chasing in on it and manages to stab it into the net. I felt really sorry for Jenna because she'd made a terrific save just a couple of minutes before that from a driving shot that she managed to knock away for a corner. But it all started from Kathy's shot pass back. But fair play to the Hibs player, she didn't give up on it. But it was an absolute catalogue of catastrophes. As Sniper says, comedy of errors for the Hibs goals. And we say goals because the second one was comical as well, really. And then obviously half time, 2-1 to us at half time. Hibs don't then need to chase the game because they're only a goal behind. The age-old thing in football, you know. And they always say 2-0 has a dangerous score. I don't quite subscribe to that. But had we gone in 2-0, I think we would have been fine. And I believe Alan Brown's going to join me as soon as he can. He's just getting into his motor from his work swing. He's going to try and join me from his phone, so that'd be a help. So as I say, second half starts. Not really much happened. Just kind of very easy peaksy. It wasn't particularly a great game. And then 59 minutes, Hibs on the attack. Ball goes just into the box. Kathy Hill takes a swing at it. Ball bounces under her foot. Again, you could probably blame the surface. I don't like to blame individual players for errors, but it was a mistake. The ball, and then I think is it Kathleen McGovern? She got onto it and put it into the net. So it's 2-2. We're right behind the 8 ball, but there's still plenty of time in the game left. And then just four minutes later, Hibs are going down their left hand side in front of the stand at Meadowbank, if you can call it a stand at Meadowbank. The Hibs player and nutmegs Lee Mengwen, the debutant. Quite a nice piece of play. Plays it into the box. Slack marking in the box. Ellie Adams is all on her own, and she sticks it past Jenna Fife. Now there's still best part of half an hour to go. We've gone from 2-0 up to 3-2 down. But I'll be perfectly honest with you, anybody that watched the game will probably agree that there was only going to be one team winning it from then on in. I mean, once it went 2-2, there was only one team going to, looking like they were going to score. I mean, the damning thing for me is the match stats, which I've lifted this off the SWPL website. So if it's wrong, I apologise. But although we had just the bulk of the possession. Good evening, Mr. Brown. How are you?
Not bad. Just jumping on last minute.
Good man. I think I'm sinking a little bit here, but I'm trying my best. I've just gone through the game. I've just gone through the game as quickly as I can. I'm now on the match stats. There's Connor's jumping in as well. They're coming at me from all angles. Connor, how are you?
Evening, gents. Not too bad.
Did you actually see the game?
I thought I seen the highlights of the game. Yes.
Good man. That'll do. We've touched on the game. We're now on the we're now on the stats. I've gone through the kind of major incidents in the game, which weren't great. I mean, the defend. Well, what do you think of the defending for the goals? I'll take that graphic off just now. We'll come back to that. The defending for the goals was absolutely shambolic.
It was really poor. I mean, really, really poor. All three of them far too easy. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Kathy Hill responsible for 2 of them. I feel. I think, her attempted back pass to Jenna Fife was just. I don't even know how she's underhit it so poorly to allow it to be herself to be caught. And from what I've seen of Rangers women, and any time I've seen them, Kathy Hill is somebody who I've always known and seen to be a fairly stable pair of hands at the back for Rangers. You know, she's not often on the end of really bad howlers like that. Certainly not that I've seen. And obviously she's one of the longest serving women's players that are there, if not the longest. So it's a shame for her. But with that pass, I just don't see. For me, if there's pressure on it, put it out for a throw if you really have to. But that's a hospital pass she's tried to play back. Then she nearly makes it. I did wonder if Jenna Fife had managed to get the ball, because when she comes out to dive at it, she definitely gets one hand to it. At first I thought, oh, was that kicked out of her hands? Because I thought maybe she'd got it under control, but she hadn't when you see it back. And then there was the other goal, I think the second goal, it comes over the top of Cathy Hill and she's not able to get her foot to it. And obviously the Hibs attacker is able to get in and square a ball across for what is effectively a tap. And seems to be a common theme in both the men's and women's team right now, defensive howlers. But it's concerning, 2-0 up and then throw it away. And I mean, how many games in a row or recently is that we've conceded 3 goals to Hibs? It seems like Hibs always put 3 past us now. So that's of concern, I would say, especially off the back of the City result as well, because I think those are arguably the games that cost us the league title last season.
Yeah, I mean, Alan, I don't know if I see you're in your car now. Are you back with us? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue hearing as I was walking, but not quite sure exactly how much you've covered in the first 15 minutes. But as Connor's touching on, just being in that position and conceding this amount of goals against Hibs and City particularly is really concerning. And we talked about it a lot at the game yesterday and on the walk back to the City, and it's just, it might as well be on goals. The goals that we're conceding, are absolute gifts, because we just needed to see it out to half time. It looked like we were going to see it out to half time and be able to regroup, and then it's a phrase we've used before in the last year, but the roof just caved in.
Yeah, I mean, there's Robert Garrick with the comment, we lost control of the midfield. We talked about this yesterday, Connor, myself and Alan at the game with Demi. Leanne filtered it quickly enough. For me, the problem is the strength of the squad, because we don't really have, experience to come off the bench. I mean, the bench yesterday. I mean, we brought on Jess Pegram for Leah Eddy after 64 minutes. That was always happening because Leah was just back first start of the season, because she's just back from injury. Laura Berry came on for Lizzie Arnott at the same time, and Quinty Sabaggio came on for the debutant Lee Mengwen with about 10 minutes to go. But the rest of the subs, okay, they've played a bit, but I mean, Ailey Austin, Fallon Connolly-Jackson and Alice Griffiths, they're all just kids, really.
Yeah, I think that does make it difficult when you look at it. It's not an experienced bench. And to be fair, it's hard, because when you've lost the experience of people like Jane Ross, for example, for last season, or even like a Rio Hardy and others who you could rotate in and out, and you could see more often than not, certainly last season, a strong enough bench. You then look at it and go, Laura Berry's probably your most experienced person on that bench right now. That's not ideal, so I can see why there was the hesitation. But again, though, it does feel a bit like, should Leanne Crichton really be waiting until we're 3-2 down to make the first change? Because she makes them straight after basically the Hibs third goal at that point, which, okay, you're now chasing the game, you've got to do it. But I think personally, with it being 2-1, with the fact that even at 2-1 and then going to 2-2, you could see clearly issues arising, and it wasn't going to plan. I think you've just got to roll the dice and take the gamble. It might not pay off, but at least people can see that you've tried to do something, rather than wait till you're behind and then, now we'll make changes to try and chase the game, especially when you get inexperienced players on that bench, which is the difference, because Hibs, obviously, they've got a fairly strong squad in general terms, I think, throughout their squad, and most of that squad as well is as consistent for last season. Not all of it, I admit, but that probably is being the Achilles heel, I think, in some of these bigger games so far this season. But unfortunately, not much that Leanne Crichton can do about that until January rolls around, so she's going to have to start maybe trusting what she's got to help her out.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Connor touched on a good point there. The Hibs team basically is the same, more or less the same core team they've had the last 2 or 3 seasons. We made the comment yesterday that we had, apart from Laura Berry, who wasn't even on the original team lineup that Rangers tweeted out, which gave us a bit of a fear. She was the only attacking option on the bench. The rest of them, Alice Griffiths, a midfield player, and the rest are all defenders, really. Okay, Quinty came on. We're not quite sure what she is yet. I know she's a midfield player of some description. But as Paul's asking, who thought it was a good idea to allow so many players to leave without replacing them? Fix the roof, not weaken it. And then Graham's come in with, is this the result of lack of recruitment after Joe's departure and the club waiting on the new manager coming in? They're 2 great points, because obviously we lost an entire midfield while we didn't have a manager. And then we couldn't replace them because we didn't have a manager. And then the time the manager comes in, we don't have time to replace the players. So the squad's very, very weak. And I know that you're like me, you're probably actually more, it probably annoys you more than it annoys me that we let so many of our young players go out on loan right at the start of the window. So, just right at the start of pre-season. So we can't even put our good young players on the bench because they're not here anymore.
Yeah, I think in the last couple of weeks I've made my feelings perfectly clear on the loan moves out, but we lost a fairly decent chunk of the squad at the end of the season, and that was before later on and into the start of the season we started losing Rio Hardy, then Liv McLaughlin, then Kirsty Howitt, and that such a spine of the team, a spine of the team that scored so many crucial goals. I think I said it was 80 or 90 goals scored last season were scored by players who are no longer at the club. I can't grudge any of the players for the moves that they've made. I think we've went on to better leagues and different environments. It's a fantastic adventure. For example, that Tess and Vic are away on. Jane's obviously retired, but that was a chance for our young players to establish themselves early in the season. Let them get a chance early in the season, and then maybe if you strengthen the squad enough, let them go out on loan later on in the season. It was senseless, and even yesterday, it was clear Lee Ming-Wen had a really, really good first half. Really encouraging, the debut that she made, and she was always going to tire. She's not played for 4 months. With Ailey Austin, who's played all season, on the bench, never came on. Make an early sub in the second half when Lee clearly started to tire. We should have never been given her more minutes than we gave Leah Eddy. But even with Cathy struggling yesterday, with Fallon Conley-Jackson on the bench, she could have come on and moved Nick in one and just took Cathy out the firing line, because Cathy will be hurting at that performance. She's as big a blue nose as any of us, and any player out there struggling, sometimes you've just got to take him out the firing line.
Yeah, you can see with Cathy's reaction after the game. You wouldn't have seen it, Connor, but because I don't suppose he showed that on the telly. But Demi pointed out as we were leaving the ground, Cathy was visibly raging, after the game, because she knows that's probably a game we should have won, and she knows obviously that she had made a couple of glaring errors. But I'm going to use this graphic because I went to the bother of having it because I thought I'd just be here myself, so I can't thank the two boys enough for jumping on. But Connor, these are damning stats to me. That although we've got the bulk of the possession, Hibs have had 10 shots on target, we've had 3. Shots off target I don't really care about because they could be high, wide, and hands from anywhere. But Hibs have had 10 shots on target. And okay, if you're a Hibs fan, you're looking at that saying, or if you're a neutral, you're looking at that saying, well, they scored about a third of the shots, and Rangers scored 66% of theirs. But I mean, for a game we were 2-0 up and absolutely coasting after 40 minutes. That's those stats really tell a story.
They do. It shows that whilst we had the bulk of the ball, albeit slightly, it's not massive. It shows that it wasn't penetrative in any way. You know, we weren't doing anything really with it. To only get 3 shots in target when you've got most of the ball tells me that probably most of our position was coming from, you know, playing it side to side at the back, you know, in the middle, or, you know, not really getting in and at them in the way you should. And it's weird as well, because you would think even when you're not playing well, and to be fair, even being 2-0 up, when we were 2-0 up, probably weren't playing brilliantly to get 2-0 up, but they had got there. So that should, you'd have felt, giving them that confidence boost and you know, basically kick them into gear for the rest of the game. And it doesn't appear that happened at all. In fact, the opposite, you could argue, was true. But they are damning stats. 10 shots on target against us to 3 for us that's very worrying, because that's telling you that we are shipping chances left, right, and centre, and not just half chances, but for them to be shots on target, most of them will be pretty decent chances that we're giving away. And Hibs might look at those stats and feel that on another day they might have got more than just the 3 goals that they ultimately took for the game. Bear in mind as well, one of those shots on target will be counted as the penalty kick that we scored. So in open play, it's only really 2 shots on target. But of course, Hibs, all 10 of theirs would have came for that kind of situation. So it is concerning. But then I just wonder, and you guys will know better than me, I look at it, and big Katie Wilkinson up front, she seems a player. Anytime, and I've seen her on the telly or in person at the few games I've been to, she's somebody that I've really been impressed by when I've seen her, I must admit. But it does feel to me, when I look at that squad, she's left carrying the can an awful lot right now by herself. I feel it particularly since Rio Hardy has gone out the door. It doesn't feel that there's anybody else right now you could hang your hat on and say, reliably put them up front and they'll get the goals or the chances. And that's probably in itself part of the recruitment issue that we're all talking about. And it's a concern, because you can't, you know, put all of that on Katie Wilkinson's shoulders.
No, I mean, Alan, I would say the only other real option is Laura Berry, who, you know, for some reason, Leanne doesn't seem to want to start her alongside Katie, which is, I get it. A place like Meadowbank away to Hibs, I get that. You don't want to go gung ho. You want to be a bit more conservative. And at 2-0 up, you're probably not going to, you're not going to go with the two strikers. But I mean, Connor's right. Katie's playing an awful lot of football, and if she gets injured, the whole lot of responsibility on her is going to fall to young Laura Berry, because there really is nobody else.
Yeah, and I think we're partly paying the price for the system Leanne's want to play. We've been spoiled for 2 years, seeing basically 3 strikers on the park almost all the time, with Joe's 3-4-1-2 sort of shape. Now we're playing with one central striker. You know, it's always going to be that the striker's going to be a bit more isolated. Absolutely, we're going to get a bit more out of wingers. You know, they've not got the same defensive responsibilities they have the last couple of years. But you know, Katie's movement's smart, but it's not as dynamic as Rio's was, or as Kirsty's was, or as Laura Berry's is. So it definitely puts a lot on the midfield getting forward, and I'm not sure that Shinji is necessarily a 10, but that's where we've seen her play. I think we're absolutely desperately missing the options that Brogan and Camille give us. So hopefully they're back soon. Paul's obviously asking. Didn't get a chance to speak to Brogan as we passed her. We obviously taking a walk around to get a better view just as the game was kicking off. But you know, certainly Brogan was about and at the game, but not seeing any sort of updates from the club. Or to be fair, none of the players were stopping really to speak to the fans. They were all straight into the dressing room after a game, and I can fully understand that. But really hope they're back. But we've got, let's face it, we've got a game at Shooty in next week, and then it's an international break, and maybe the team just need a wee bit of a reset. I don't think it's been an overly impressive start to the season, but there's enough there to be encouraged. But at the same time, the record against the big five is is really, really concerning. And it was an issue last year. Certainly scored a wee bit more. Two against Hibs is better than we did last season, but we really, really need to get players fit and firing and into a really good shape at the back.
Yeah, and we've got the sniper asking what the league table is, lads. I've had a wee thing with graphics. I've been doing my thing in today because I thought I was here myself. So we have got the league table, and that makes damn reading, Connor. We're sitting fifth, level on points with Hearts, but behind them on goal difference. And as Alan said, last year we were banging in goals for fun, and this year we have scored, or we've got the least positive goal difference of the top five, because Hearts have got plus 14, Hibs have got plus 18, they've got plus 23, City's only got plus 17, we've only got plus 12.
Yeah, I mean, Alan touched on there, obviously, 2 seasons ago, the league title was lost on goal difference, so last season they rectified that, but ended up losing it on points by failing to win at home to Hibs in the last game of the season. And then you look at this season, and the goal difference is certainly not looking pretty, but neither's the points total. I mean, you're sitting 3 points behind, for example, a Celtic team who just a couple of short weeks ago you beat. But behind them because of failing to get the results against Hibs and Glasgow City. And what I find baffling about it is they don't seem to have a problem with Celtic. That seems to be a fixture that they really quite enjoy. In recent times they've had great results against them. In fact, I think they're unbeaten in 8 now against Celtic, which is quite telling. That's a good run of form in that game. But I don't know why that doesn't translate against City or Hibs. Now, I accept that City are probably a better side than Celtic, I would grant you. But are Hibs a better side than Celtic? I'm not, I think you could probably put them close
100% they
enough.
are for me.
Yeah, they are right now, but what I mean is on those game days, for a Rangers point of view, they should be able and capable of beating both sides. Hibs are a very good side, there's no doubt about it. But if you can get up for Celtic games and you can get yourself going and motoring for that, you've got to do the same there, especially when you put yourself in positions against teams like Hibs where you're 2-0 up. That's where it becomes bread and butter. City's different because there always seems to be tight games and struggles against City. For whatever reason, some of those games seem to come at Ibrox a lot as well. But I've kept an eye on even the results this season and seen some of the score lines and seen folks in the Discord, people at Tess and all that who talk about it quite regular. And it does seem to me that there's doesn't feel like there's been a real 90-minute performance for Leanne Crichton's side this season. It feels like they've had sort of slower starts and then built into games. And then there's some games where they absolutely have obviously went and hammered the opposition. Even in the Cup recently against St Johnstone women, but then you'd expect that. So that's perhaps a concern. For all Joe Potter probably underachieved by not delivering a league title, you could not deny that the brand of football that she had, that the lassies playing was very, very good to watch most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time it was. I mean, most of the games I went to were all highly entertaining affairs. And they weren't all wins because I was at, draws with Hearts and such like. So I think it feels like there's maybe been a regression there, and that's what's causing the issue. But if we're going to win a league title, we're going to need to find ways to beat City and Hibs. And you can't keep shipping 3 goals to teams like Hibs to do it, because you're not going to score 4 goals against Hibs every time you play them. You're just not.
Yeah, there's a nice wee segue there from Connor about halfway through that monologue. When you mentioned the Discord, for those of you that aren't members, and we're only, I think, half a dozen members away from maybe 16, away from, I don't know, a ridiculous number. If you want access to the Discord, all you have to do is join the Rabble community. Obviously, like and subscribe is the first thing you need to do. We're only, I think we're 6 away from 16,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed already and you're watching this, just subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. If you would like to get into the Discord and get loads and loads of members content, including the member show that's coming out in 10 minutes time, it's not even the price of a cup of coffee a month, and it's great stuff. See loads more of Connor, loads more of Alan's lovely beard, bit more of me, and loads of other guys, lots and lots of other stuff. There's Paul. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and all that sort of stuff. That helps the pod out greatly. But as I say, there's loads and loads of members content if that's your thing. Even if it's not just like and subscribe, that would help us greatly. So we've only got about 5 minutes because we're going to have to call it short because the member show is on at 7:15 tonight. Because Martin wanted to make it 7, and I said that's fine tonight because there's only me. But the boys have bailed me out, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. But Alan, talking about the shipping goals, I'm going to put this league table up again. The thing that's galling for me is we've shipped 9 goals this season in 8 games. That's not League One in form. I mean, there's Glasgow City. They've let in 2. We've let in 9. That's a huge difference.
Oh, it's a massive difference, but we started the season with 2 fullbacks at centre half, and a lot of the season we've played a utility player, and I really am doing Jodie McClure a massive disservice calling her a utility player. She's probably been the standout this season, but she's filling in at right back a lot this season, so our right back Ailey can play centre half or even on the left side. So an unsettled defence, and despite the fact that's a poor defensive record, I think again one of our players of the season so far has been Jenna Fife, because that could have been a lot worse had it not been for the fact that Jenna's been in very, very good form and feeling a wee bit of love and probably seen that reflect in her performances. But I think all season, and we kept talking about it constantly at the game yesterday, Hibsed the free rein in the midfield, and that was not because Jodie was having a bad game in the middle. It certainly wasn't because May Croft was having a bad game in the middle, and that's another thing. We're now relying on a young girl who's just turned 16 and built at the side of a fiver to dominate our midfield. So that's a concern. We need to be very, very careful in looking after young May, because she's a hell of a player, but the lack of depth in the centre of defence and then the lack of protection from a solid midfield structure is crazy. And Connor rightly talked about being more free-flowing and entertaining last year under Joe, but you look at the players we've lost, it's not. I don't think it can be a reflection just on the change of coach that we're not playing that same free-flowing, dominating football, because even the experience and the resilience in that midfield that we've lost, the tenacity in the midfield that we've lost, really, really makes it much harder to protect the back line and the defence. And if you've got a team like Hibs that you come up against, Glasgow City, they're clinical teams that will score a lot of goals. We saw last week in the Cup, right? We beat St Johnstone handily. Hibs took apart a full-strength Motherwell team and put 9 past them. So Hibs are rightly up there, I think. And I said at the start of the season, Hibs are favourites for this title. And I hate saying that. I absolutely despise not saying that Rangers are favourites for a title, but Hibs kept their title winning squad together last year. They gave a half-decent showing in Europe, come up against a really tough draw against Inter Milan, but put on a good showing against him and can take a lot of confidence from that. And they've showed if we let him in and give him a chance, they'll take it.
Yep, you're 100% right. And on that very, very sobering note that Hibs are the team to watch, we'll call it a night there. As I say, the member show coming up in 5 minutes. I know that because I'm hosting it, so I'll need to get myself off of this. I'd like to thank Vodafone for going down middle of the afternoon. I've had to come to my work to make sure I've got internet access. Although Vodafone is back up now for those of you that use it. So I didn't see the point of going back home when I was sitting here nice and comfy with a cup of coffee. So I was really, from the bottom of my heart, like to thank Connor for jumping on and bailing me out, because I was beginning to sink a little bit. I hope the first 15 minutes wasn't too bad for those of you that were stuck just with me. Alan, stellar job jumping on as soon as you finish your work. That's absolutely tremendous. That's up there with me jumping on from Dublin Airport a few weeks ago. That's stellar stuff.
No, I don't think it compares to that, but.
Well, it does, because at least I had time to grab a cup of coffee at Dublin before we went live. But folks, if you are new to this, like and subscribe, share it about. Think about joining the Rabble community. It is from as Aldo so succinctly puts it. You know, it starts at $1.99 on YouTube and Patreon if Patreon's your thing. You know, the members' content is second to none. The Discord, don't ask me about it because I'm not on it. I really don't have time for nonsense like that. But every Monday night at 6:30, we're here for the women's show. Come hell or high water, whether people are available or not, we still manage to get something out. So once again, thanks very much to the guys for joining us. Thanks to all you guys in the comments, and for those of you that are joining us in 5 minutes, I'll see you again in 5 minutes. Cheers.